Hello dear students. Students, I hope that you all are fine and safe. Students, we will continue lesson 6 life processes. Today's topic of our lecture is human respiratory system. In this topic, we will learn about main organs of human respiratory system, mechanism of breathing, exchange of gases during breathing, transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide in human beings in detail. Students, you are watching this diagram of human respiratory system and the various organs associated with the system. We will study all these systems and their function one by one. The main organs of human respiratory system are nostrils, nasal cavity, pharynx, which is common passage for both air and food or drinks we take in through mouth, larynx, which is also known as voice box, trachea, which is also known as windpipe, bronchi, it is a plural word, and singular bronchus. Then pair of lungs present in thoracic cavity or chest cavity and protected by a bony rib cage. Inside lungs, the bronchi are divided into bronchioles, and bronchioles end up into alveoli. Again, it is a plural word, singular alveolus. These are also known as air sacs, which are actual site for the exchange of gases. Students, you are watching the diagram of human respiratory system. See, this system is associated with atmosphere through nostrils and mouth. Nostrils lead to nasal passage, which is also known as nasal cavity, lying above bony palate present in mouth. Mouth leads to buccal cavity or oral cavity. Both these cavities open into a common passage called pharynx. Pharynx, we have just talked about, is a common passage for both air and whatever we take in through mouth, like food, eatables or drinks, etc. This pharynx further divides into two major pipes. One leads to food pipe or esophagus, about which we have learnt in detail in nutrition topic, human digestive system. And second one leads to windpipe called trachea. But before opening into trachea, it opens into larynx. Larynx is a sound box. It consists of two vocal cords. Opening of larynx is called glottis, and glottis is covered by a membrane called epiglottis. Whenever we eat or swallow something and it goes into food pipe, then this epiglottis covers this larynx during swallowing. Otherwise, epiglottis partially covers the food pipe throughout the time. But whenever we swallow something, this epiglottis covers the windpipe so that any eatable does not enter windpipe and block it. Otherwise, we will suffer from the breathing problems. So, it prevents the entry of any eatable into windpipe during swallowing. Then windpipe. You are watching windpipe, also known as trachea. This trachea is supported by C-shaped rings of cartilage. Then this trachea divides into two main branches known as bronchi, singular bronchus. Each bronchus enters into each lung. One enters into right lung and other enters into left lung. Right lung, you are watching in the diagram, is three-lobed. It has three lobes, and left lung has two lobes. These pair of lungs are present in thoracic cavity or chest cavity. Above, diaphragm. Diaphragm is a thin muscular sheet which separates the abdominal cavity from thoracic cavity. It plays a very important role in the process of breathing. Now students, you can see that this trachea we have just told about is supported by C-shaped cartilaginous rings. You are watching on the slide, there is a C-shaped cartilaginous ring like structure which support this trachea and respiratory passage. What is its function? It keeps trachea in a swollen condition. It does not allow it to collapse or to shrink, because if trachea or other respiratory passage gets squeezed or collapsed, then air passage will block, and if air passage gets blocked, then again there will be problem in breathing. So it is supported by C-shaped cartilaginous rings. Second important point which you have to keep in your mind, that it is always said, it is always advised to breathe through nostrils but not through mouth. Students, you know that we can breathe both through nose as well as through mouth, because both lead to pharynx and pharynx leads to respiratory passage. But it is always advised to breathe through nose. Why? Nasal cavities are lined with small hair-like cilia to filter the air passing through them. The filtered air moves in, keeping the dust particles, pollen grains and other pollutants out. The nasal cavities are also lined with mucus glands. They secrete mucus. Mucus is a sticky substance. The dust particles are trapped in this mucus. Mucus also warms the air and sterilizes it. It contains lysozymal enzyme to kill the microbes. So due to this advantage of nostrils, it is always advised to breathe through nose but not through mouth. Very important statement. In exams it is generally asked, commonly asked, comment upon the statement why it is always advised to breathe through nostrils but not through mouth. And another important question which we have just talked about, that C-shaped rings of cartilage are present in trachea, comment upon the statement. The C-shaped rings of cartilage present in trachea support the air passage and prevent it from collapsing. Now students, inside the lungs, when trachea opens into two major branches, bronchi, and bronchi enters in each lung, they further divide and redivide to form number of branch structures called bronchioles. These bronchioles finally end into air sacs, balloon-like structures called alveoli. Now what are alveoli? These are the air sacs. What are their features? What is the role of alveoli inside the lungs? So students, within the lungs, each bronchus divides into smaller and smaller tubes called bronchioles. These bronchioles finally end into balloon-like structures called alveoli. These alveoli are the air sacs which provide an actual site for the exchange of gases. In exams, you can be asked the question, which are the actual site for the exchange of gases, or which are the unit of respiratory system? The answer is alveoli. These alveoli are 300 millions in number approximately in each lung. There are millions of alveoli. To increase the surface area, about 80 square meter for the exchange of gases by diffusion. Each alveolus is richly supplied with network of blood capillaries for the easy exchange of gases by diffusion. These are extremely thin and highly permeable so that gases can easily diffuse in and out through their thin surfaces. Their surfaces are always moist for the easy exchange of gases by diffusion. So you have come to know about the role of alveoli. Again, this question is very important from examination point of view. How are lungs designed to maximize the exchange of gases in human respiratory system, or what are the roles of alveoli in human respiratory system? How alveoli are designed to maximize the exchange of gases in human respiratory system. So, in any way, the question can be asked in the exam related to alveoli. Now, students, we will come to the topic mechanism of breathing. Breathing is a physical process of taking in fresh air, rich in oxygen, and giving out foul air, rich in carbon dioxide. It involves two main steps: inhalation or inspiration. Number 2, exhalation or expiration. Now, look at this diagram. Students, you are watching this diagram, and here you also come to know about the role of diaphragm. Diaphragm is originally dome-shaped structure, and when you inhale the air, when you take or breathe in air, students, let us do one activity along with this lecture. At the same time, just breathe in. What you will feel, what changes you will feel in your chest cavity? Don't you feel that when you breathe in, the ribs are moving upward and outward? At the same time, diaphragm is moving downward. Now, what happens during this time? When you breathe in, the intercostal muscles present in the ribs, they contract and makes the ribs to move upward and outward. At the same time, diaphragm, which is a muscular sheet, contract and is pulled downward. You are watching in the green diagram as well as in the red diagram given seen on your slide, that this diaphragm during this inhalation becomes flattened due to its contraction. As a result of this, the volume of the thoracic cavity or the chest cavity increases and the lungs present in this cavity expand. Due to this expansion, the alveoli present in the lungs get also inflated, means they also expand. Now in the expanded alveoli, the air pressure is comparatively lower than the air coming from outside, which you have just inhaled in. And now the alveoli are filled with the inhaled air rich in oxygen. Look at here, Inhalation. It is a process of taking in fresh air, rich in oxygen. During the process, ribs move upward and outward with the help of intercostal muscles present in the ribs. Diaphragm contracts and move downward and gets flattened. As a result, the volume of chest cavity increases. Lungs present within the rib cage expand. At this time, the air pressure inside the lungs decreases as compared to outside air pressure. Hence, due to this pressure difference, the air rich in oxygen is rushed into lungs and fills the expanded alveoli where the actual exchange of gases take place. At this time, oxygen is taken in from the inhaled air, which combines with hemoglobin and form oxyhemoglobin and take this oxygen to the body cells through blood. And carbon dioxide, which blood has brought here, is removed into the alveolar air for its removal. Now, exhalation. Students, when you exhale, now do one activity more. Exhale the air present in your body outside. Now, what changes do you feel this time? Don't you feel that now ribs are moving inward and downward? And at the same time, diaphragm, which has got flattened during inhalation, now return to its normal shape, that is dome shaped. It is moving upward and ribs are moving downward. This time, the volume of thoracic cavity decreases and the alveoli, which are filled with air, now has more pressure of air than outside air. And now the reverse takes place. The air rich in carbon dioxide, from the blood, carbon dioxide is moved into alveolar air and then carbon dioxide is removed out through the reverse process. Look at here, exhalation. It is the process giving out foul air rich in carbon dioxide. During this process, ribs move downward and inward with the help of again intercostal muscles, which are relaxed this time. Diaphragm also relaxes, gets its original shape, that is dome shape. As a result of this, volume of chest cavity or thoracic cavity decreases. Lungs present within the rib cage contract and the air pressure inside the lungs increases as compared to outside air pressure. Hence, due to this pressure difference, air rich in carbon dioxide rushed out of the alveoli and ultimately pass out through nasal passage. So this is all about mechanism of breathing. Now students, you are watching that actually the exchange of gases occur at the alveolar surface. You are watching these balloon-like structures are richly supplied with pulmonary capillaries. Pulmonary name is associated with lungs. The capillaries which take the blood towards lungs or from the lungs are called pulmonary blood vessels and capillaries. Now, red color shows that it is carrying oxygenated blood, and blue color capillaries show means they are carrying deoxygenated blood. And in the side structure of, you are watching that at the alveolar sac, at one alveolar sac, how the blue colored red blood cells or the blue colored blood shown. Actually, blood is not blue in color, but for that distinction, the deoxygenated blood is generally shown in blue color and oxygenated blood is shown in red color. Now, how the carbon dioxide from the deoxygenated blood is getting out from the blood into the alveolar air, and how oxygen is getting from the alveolar air into the blood capillaries and make the blood oxygenated, and from here the blood goes to all cells of our body for respiration. Now students, the exchange of gases which take place at the surface of alveoli between alveolar air and the blood is known as external respiration. And further, this oxygen is carried to the body cells for further oxidation of glucose to release energy along with carbon dioxide and water. That is known as internal respiration. The type of respiration which is occurring during breathing at alveolar surface is external respiration, and the type of respiration which is occurring in the cells of the body to generate energy is internal respiration. Now students, the last topic of today's lecture is transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide in human beings. How oxygen is transported? You know, hemoglobin is a red colored respiratory pigment present in red blood cells that helps in transportation of oxygen from alveolar air in the form of oxygenated blood to the body cells for respiration. About 97% of oxygen combines with hemoglobin and forms oxyhemoglobin, which carries this oxygen to the various body cells. By reaching body cells, this oxyhemoglobin breaks to release oxygen to the body cells, and hemoglobin gets separated for the further combination with oxygen in the lungs. And about 3%, very less percent of oxygen can also be transported through blood plasma, that is liquid part of the blood. Now, how carbon dioxide is transported? Students, carbon dioxide is more soluble in water as compared to oxygen. So most of the time, or it is mostly transported in dissolved form in the blood plasma and in the form of bicarbonates, salts. Very less amount of carbon dioxide is transported with the help of hemoglobin in the form of carbaminohemoglobin. Students, here some students make mistakes. They say that when carbon dioxide combines with the hemoglobin, it forms carboxyhemoglobin. No. Carboxyhemoglobin is formed when hemoglobin combines with carbon monoxide. But when carbon dioxide combines with hemoglobin, it forms carbaminohemoglobin. Its pronunciation carbaminohemoglobin. So this is how it goes to the lungs, and there it releases carbon dioxide for its removal from the body. This is how the ventilation, the exchange of gases takes place in our body in the lungs. So this is, students, all for the day. I hope that you all have understood the topic. Watch the video lecture once more if you need, and start preparing your notes. Thank you and have a nice day.